Hi, this is 100 and 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Today we are looking at Shooty Fruity VR. Shooty Fruity VR is a gallery shooting game that is all about shooting the fruit that is coming to get you at the checkout stand. You play as a cash register at a grocery store, and you're also given a sidearm to fight off fruit that is either trying to escape the grocery store or attack your checkout stand. In our VR Gear game reviews, we cover as many aspects of the game as possible so that you can make an informed decision about whether to buy or try a VR title. Shooty Fruity VR is a lot of fun, and we think that you'll enjoy this one, and we're excited to review it with you today. Let's start by talking about getting up and running with Shooty Fruity VR. This game can be found on any of the VR platform stores, from the Steam Store, Oculus Store, the Viveport Infinity subscription, as well as PSVR. You can find this game on any of these stores, and the purchase price is $19.99. The download file is 2 gigabytes, and it shouldn't take too much time to download and automatically install. Once the installation is complete and you get into the game, the introductory menu is really kind of interesting. You are in a break room behind the shopping floor of a grocery store where you are reviewing instructions, clocking in, punching that time card, and also practicing with the weapons you'll be using at the register stand to fight off the evil fruit that's trying to attack you or escape the store. The game is played in chunks, and it is more of a casual type game that you'll be able to come back to as your progress is saved, as you fight off the different fruit, as they get bigger, more complex, faster, more resilient, thicker skins, and requiring you to have bigger, badder weapons to shoot those fruit. This game is clearly a gallery shooting type game with a serious twist, with added fruit and a really interesting context that you're playing from. You are the cashier at a grocery store, you are manning the register, and your job is not only to shoot fruit that is trying to get you or escape, but you're also supposed to scan groceries and send them down the chute. As you scan the groceries and send them down the chute, you are awarded more points, and the more points you get, the better weapons you'll be able to use while you're fighting off the fruit. The weapons are suspended in front of you and move past you in a conveyor belt type fashion, and you can grab them and begin using them right away. When you grab a weapon, you'll be able to shoot at berries, watermelons, oranges, apples, all sorts of fruits that are coming out of the produce section of the grocery store and through the vents and from behind the shelves in the grocery store. In this game, you'll play from the first-person perspective, and you will see nothing but your weapons when you have them in your hands. And when you don't have weapons in your hands, you will see white-gloved hands. These hands are used to scan produce and scan groceries as you move them down the conveyor belt at the checkout stand. And when you grab a weapon, your hands are then used to fire those weapons. But this game will be played from the first-person perspective. You will remain in the first-person perspective as you're in the break room, as you're out on the shopping floor, and as you're in the practice shooting gallery that is also in the break room. You'll play this entire game as a store employee trying to fight off rogue fruit. This game has a very interesting story, and the narration voice that is guiding you through the tutorial, guiding you when it comes to the shifts that you've taken and the job that you have during those shifts, is really quite boring, kind of annoying. It is a voice that is meant to be really drab and mundane, but it actually adds a lot to the story. It helps you feel really in the moment. As a result, the story here is your development as a store clerk. Your job is to get good at it. Your job is to protect the store. Your job is to keep the fruit in the grocery store by any means possible, and that includes shooting them with a shotgun or a handgun or a machine gun. Whatever gun you've earned, your job is to use it to kill the fruit. As you develop as a store employee, you gain additional abilities and you have access to even better weapons. Controls in this game are very straightforward. You're able to teleport around in the break room. You're also able to grab papers from desks. You're able to drop time cards into slots or grab levers to initiate the shooting range inside of the break room. But there was one issue with the controls that was really kind of difficult to master, and it was because it felt unnatural. The grab mechanism in the game was the trigger. You could grab a gun with a trigger, and you didn't have to hold on to it. You would just pull the trigger once and then you would be holding the gun. To release your grip on the gun, you would need to squeeze the hand grip button to release it. This was somewhat disorienting because a lot of other games in VR that have a gun that you would hold in your hand require you to continuously hold the grip in your hand, and to drop the gun, you release the grip. Alternatively, they've done you squeeze the grip to grab, you squeeze again to release. This game tries to leverage the trigger plus the grip to grab and then release the gun from your hand. And this became very difficult in the heat of the battle because the controls were so different from other games where we've used weapons. As a result, we lost some points, our cashier got hurt a little bit, and we got some demerits from our manager who was observing us and telling us that our corporate bosses were soon to arrive and the store was too messy for their approvals. All in all, the controls were somewhat fluid, and in the heat of battle, they became a little cumbersome. We did appreciate how few buttons there were to play with. We just wish the controller bindings were slightly different by default. For music and sound, this game was really fun. Think of elevator music with a twist, with some weird sounding characters hopping towards you, some explosions with fruit splatting all over the grocery store aisles, and your gun shooting to the satisfying sound of an exploding apple or watermelon. The game had all of these sounds all in one place. The game did a good job with some spatial audio where you could hear from which side the different fruit were coming from so that you could be prepared for them as they approach. But overall, the sound was what you would expect from music that was played in a grocery store, which isn't that impressive, but this game pulled it off pretty well. And so we enjoyed the music and sound here, and it added a lot to the environment. For player movement in this game, you won't be moving from your spot as a checkout cashier at the grocery store. You'll be standing in one place as the enemy comes toward you, the enemy being the crazy rogue fruit that's trying to escape the grocery store. There is the ability to move around the break room. You can teleport from one side to the other and go stand in front of a vending machine to pick a weapon, or in front of the shooting gallery to practice using those weapons before you jump into your shift as a checkout clerk. But other than that, the game is actually played from the standing position, and you won't do much moving other than rotating slightly to your left or right. It did seem that the game would expand to about 140 degrees on either side, which would require you to rotate only a little bit. But for the most part, the game is played right in front of you. You don't have to move from your spot when you start the level, just looking up and down and left and right in order to see the oncoming enemies. As far as motion sickness goes, this game is very gentle, and it's a great one for people who are newer to VR, who want to get in to experience a good story that doesn't have a lot of player movement that would result in motion sickness. So if you are sensitive to motion sickness, or you think you might be and you're new to VR, this is a great place to start, to where you get to experience teleporting in a small degree in the break room, but gameplay is done completely motionless, where you stand in one place and you are playing as if you're in a shooting gallery. There's no movement and therefore no motion sickness in the actual gameplay. Finally, environment and immersion in this game was really driven by the interactive nature of the fruit and the requirement to shoot them as they were approaching. Their movement was different from one fruit to the next. You'd have big watermelons rolling slowly towards you. You would have blueberries jumping. You would have raspberries rolling, strawberries just darting from side to side, and apples just coming from the ceiling. And as a result, you had to be on your toes. All of this added to your basic responsibility of checking out groceries as they were coming past you. You need to scan them and put them down the chute, and you can't miss them, or else your weapons will never upgrade and you won't have powerful enough guns to shoot off the larger fruit. So you need to pay very close attention. You need to be vigilant, you need to continue to check out groceries, and you need to pay attention to all of your surroundings to make sure that you can shoot all the oncoming fruit. All of these things added to a very immersive environment. Whereas some games really excel with the audio or the visual quality, this game excels in the interactive nature of gameplay, and that was what made the game so immersive. And we really liked it. We were very much on our toes, we were nervous at times, not confident we'd pass a level, and just in the nick of time able to grab the right weapon, fire off a round, and squash that apple that was trying to destroy our jobs. This game was very interactive and immersive as a result of the type of gameplay that they used. And now let's talk about the overall scorecard for Shooty Fruity in VR, starting with theme and story. For theme and story, we're giving this game a 7 out of 10. That's a really good score, and we really liked the story. We didn't really fall in love with the narration voice, but I think that was by design, and we won't deduct points for that. We do feel that the theme was very well executed. It was a great gallery shooting game with a twist. It was very active, and the environment was really engaging. And the story of you developing as a clerk with all the different nuances and details that were in the break room really made for a great story, and the theme was very strong here. A 7 out of 10 for story and theme. For controls, we're giving this game a 6 out of 10. That's a little bit above average, and we really liked that there weren't a lot of controls. The problem we had was the control binding was not similar to other shooting games. As a result, in the heat of battle, you would get confused with what would release a weapon or grab a weapon, fire a weapon, etc., and it made it so the game was a little bit more difficult to play. And so a 6 out of 10 is what we're giving this game for controls. For music and sound, we're giving this game a 6 out of 10. The music wasn't anything terribly impressive, but it was appropriate for gameplay. The sound effects were good, but they were a little bit on the underwhelming side, as well as the sound effects that would come from the fruit prior to you hitting them. They sounded like little gremlins or whatever, and that could have had more creativity put into it. So a 6 out of 10 for music and sound. For player movement, this game is getting a 7 out of 10. This game was really well done from a standing position. Movement within the break room allowed you to do more than just stand. You could teleport from side to side. But part of the game would have been enhanced with a little bit better movement in your close proximity. That includes being able to move slightly to the left or the right, moving forward, or grabbing things that were slightly outside of your reach. As a result, this game is getting a 7 out of 10 for player movement. For motion sickness, this game is getting an extremely high score of a 9 out of 10. That's near perfect. The only place this game could improve in regards to motion sickness would be movement inside of the break room, because there's this element of teleportation and the opportunity to become disoriented and have a difficult time ending up facing the direction you're trying to face after teleportation. Other than that, the game will not make you motion sick. This is a really great game for people who are new to virtual reality, and we recommend it for people who are interested in playing a very exciting, fast-paced game that demands your attention while you're playing. For environment and immersion, we're giving this game a 7 out of 10. That's a great score, and this game really excelled in engaging the user with a lot of different things they had to do to stay on top of the enemy. Scanning groceries while shooting away fruit is a really novel idea that was executed very well by these developers, and so Environment and Immersion gets a great score of a 7 out of 10. And now for the overall score for Shooty Fruity VR, this game is getting a 7 out of 10. That's a really good score, and there's a lot of points that are being given because of the lack of motion sickness, because of the story and the theme that was so well executed, despite it not being exciting for some people, being a grocery store checkout clerk. Maybe not the coolest thing in the world, but it's definitely something that this game developer did a great job of getting users in there and excited about defending their checkout stand from rogue fruit. So a 7 out of 10 for an overall score is a great score for Shooty Fruity VR. This has been 100 and 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you can be notified tomorrow when we release another VR game review. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.